is Cammy. She bought 2. One was like for her dad. I'm like, I don't know how
One
I'm
was
supposed to.
her dad bought me. He booked me to send to her, and to act like I've never like met her, like just say something like I don't even remember what it was. And then she was going to book me for her dad, but then her dad did it first. So then she was like, okay, I'm gonna book Matt and do something random. And then she booked you again because she did, and I think she booked Bladen and also me. And she sent all of us to one of her roommates as a gift, even though her roommate just couldn't care less.
We're live.
Oh, excellent. Should you intro
I
this or
think
should
we.
I?
Oh, you can go ahead. I
Hello,
think we're a little
everybody.
laggy though. I can't lie.
Are we? Sad. Uh, Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Theo and Matt NBA live stream where we talk about our all-star rosters, and we talk about the upcoming trade deadline and some moves we'd like to see, and we talk about all manner of wild and wacky NBA storylines. We don't talk enough about the NBA on the pod, we think, with the NFL season kind of in full swing. So we're doing this live stream to kind of supplement that and get our NBA minutes in. So Matt, how are you feeling about this live stream here?
I feel all right about it. I'm hoping that the quality is all right. Did you guys disown Bladen? No, Bladen is behind the scenes right now. But I guess we're just the ones doing the NBA lives. It's an NBA stream. Yeah.
It is an NBA stream. Bladen's all-star roster would be the entire Cavs roster, and then De'Aaron Fox, and that's about all he would probably say.
It says sound broken. Bladen is the. Does it sound all right? Sound is only on the left for me. My left ear is hurting. This is so sad.
Well, we
never able to.
Take your left earbud and put it in your right ear.
And just switch back and forth.
A loud beeping. Oh no. A beeping. Bladen, stop making car noises on your end.
Yeah, it's Bladen's fault. I think that's the thing we really want to highlight here, is that this is on Bladen entirely.
Yes. Okay, yes. Put it in.
I can only hear through one AirPod. Well, there is some possibility that it's the stream. It could also be that everybody has a broken right earbud at the moment. We can't really say for sure which.
Okay, I can say for sure. This is Bladen.
We'll try fixing
on
it
the stream.
And you guys go buy new earbuds.
Matt and Theo can't hear me, but for everyone watching the
Jason
stream,
Smith,
what's going
why
on
does Bladen own Bullshit Up
it.
Sports? I know this account, but I haven't seen them. Beeping is from a truck. Never mind.
Stop gaslighting me, Matt. No. I'm just saying, we don't know which it is.
Is Bladen saying something? We can't even hear Bladen.
He's muted.
Sad.
Mickey Mouse quality. This is so sad.
This
is so sad.
Well, we could try talking and just work through it. Have Bladen work through it, or we could just did he fix it? Chad is seeming a little bit more optimistic. Oh, never mind. You should not continue hanging up drywall. You should listen to the stream.
I didn't even know you hung up drywall.
I didn't either. What was your... Brad needs a friend. What? Oh, fixed? Fixed? Yes, sir. Okay, excellent news. Bladen is a wizard.
We good?
Bladen is a wizard.
But Mike sounds bad. Which Mike? Both of them?
It's a... I think that it is fixed enough to the point where we can talk about our all-star rosters and whatnot.
All right, I'll say this. How about if the Theo's mic is bad? I was just gonna say that if anybody complains about the quality from here on out, you're just getting banned. So, but it's fixed. All right, let's do it.
Yep.
So you had all 5 of the Suns starters on your all-star ballot, no?
I did not have all 5 of the starters on the Suns starters on my all-star ballot, but you know, the way they operate, all 5 Suns starters could probably beat the all-star team, so you know, I might as well. I did make the case. I thought about making the case for Mikal Bridges on the all-star team. But at the end of the day, I was a coward and did not put him on my list. But he was someone I very strongly considered putting on my list because of his eliteness as a role player. And I figure if Draymond Green could get on it all those years for being an elite role player, Mikal Bridges also could have a case. But I didn't end up doing that. But I do have Booker and Paul both in there at the flex spots in the West. But I did not put the entire Suns roster. But you put the entire Hornets roster there. I'm looking at your list and I see Oubre and Bridges and Ball and Hayward. So what's with that?
Well, PJ Washington was my first out, so it's not. No, I do have LaMelo Ball. I'm strong on this point, and I haven't been pushing it recently because I wasn't really confident. But then I really sat down and took a look at it, and LaMelo Ball is an all-star. I think people underrate his playmaking, and LaMelo's scoring is underrated. People have this idea that he's like a bad scorer, that he's like he can't like he almost leads the Hornets in points per game. He's like a half a point a game behind Miles Bridges. But then if I talk to people about like, oh, Anthony Edwards versus LaMelo, they act like the gap is bigger than the gap between those two with playmaking. So I have a hard time. I have a hard time buying into LaMelo not being an all-star right now. I think he's the best player on a good team. His playmaking's ridiculous. Advanced stats support it.
I'd agree, and we can go through the whole list maybe, like, instead of just talking about random ones one at a time. But I also have Ball on my list with four backcourt, right, 6 front court, and then 2 flex. I think it depends. Levine, depending on where you put Levine, I think that you can make the case that Ball is a top 4 guard in the East. And even if you put Levine as a guard, I think that he fits into one of the flex spots. So yeah, I agree with you on Ball. I do
LaMelo isn't even the best Ball brother. Yeah, Lonzo Ball's like a 4th option right now. So I have a hard time buying into that. I mean, if we want to start in the East, I've got Young, DeRozan, LaMelo, and Harden as my backcourt. And then as my flex, I have Jared Allen and Fred VanVleet.
Okay.
So that's kind of I went 1-1 with forwards and guards on the.
Okay.
Flex.
I have Young, DeRozan, Harden, and Levine as my front court or backcourt, and then I have Ball and Garland as my flex players. So I know that you put Levine as a 3 and put him as like a forward, which is probably very valid. I just think of him off the top of my head as a shooting guard, so I put him as a guard, even though he is playing the 3 a pretty decent amount this year. So
Theo, you cut out.
Did I? Scary.
Garland was one of my first out for me. I'm hoping an injury. Well, I'm not hoping an injury happens. But if there were to be an injury, I think Garland might be the first one in.
Yeah, I think Garland. Look, Garland.
I can hear him. I still can't hear him.
Really?
I don't know if that's on my end or yours. DeRozan should 100% be a forward. Well, I think it works out. Either way because one of Levine or DeRozan has to be a forward and one has to be a guard. I can hear him. I think it must be on my end. That's my fault.
Well, I'll talk here. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know exactly where they've been playing.
Let me fix mine.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, he's fixing that.
That's my fault.
This is what makes the NBA All-Star team interesting to me is like when it comes to positions is because like the difference between the 2 and the 3 puts you in a completely different like bucket. Whereas in real life, it's not all that crazy of a position switch. So it is tough, a little bit tough for me to know exactly where to like rank these guys if they count as a front court or a backcourt player, a guard or a forward. And so to me, I think of DeRozan as a shooting guard. I think of Levine as a shooting guard. So I put them both in guards, even though they do play, a decent amount of forward each. So I don't know. But yeah, it is Young, DeRozan, Levine, Harden as my guards, and then Ball and Garland, which are also like traditionally guards as my flex options. I think I think Garland should get it. I mean, he's near the top of the league in assists. He's one of the best players on one of the best teams. I like him to be in this, and I think it's just interesting to have some guys that maybe don't make it all the time. So
Yeah, no, I'm not against Garland getting in. But I have Van Vliet just over him.
for sure.
And
Van Vliet's funny to me. The Suns played the Raptors last night, and Van Vliet to me is always, I think he's good, but he's always some guy where it's like he's gonna take some just like one crazy, absolutely insane shot a game and like brick it. Fred Van Vliet. No, he's good. I could definitely see him, and he's someone I considered. But at the end of the day, I put Garland over him. But I don't know if that's a bad take or not. Fred Van Vliet over Garland, fine. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, no, I've got Van Vliet over Garland. They have DeRozan as shooting guard. I checked. Levine was playing shooting or small forward 66% of the time, according to Basketball Reference this season. So that's why I put him as a forward. My forwards for the East are Giannis, or not my forwards, my front court is Giannis, Kevin Durant, Embiid, Levine, Jimmy Butler, Tatum, and then I have Allen as a flex.
Okay. I don't have Tatum, which was maybe a hot take. I've got for my forwards I have Durant, Embiid, Giannis, Sabonis, Butler, and then Jarrett Allen.
You got Sabonis over Tatum right now.
I do have Sabonis over Tatum right now. And I don't know. I think Tatum he's got a lot of points, but he's not doing it efficiently. He's not playmaking, and the Celtics are vastly underperforming where I think they should be. And I look at Sabonis being, more efficient. I don't know. I don't know if Tatum is playing well enough to warrant an all-star spot with what he's. I mean, he's like in the low four. I don't know. I do not love Tatum this year. So,
I mean, I'm looking at it. I think Sabonis would be on the worst team of any all-star I have, which isn't the end of the world, but I do take being on a good team into account a little bit. I don't know. I'll still take Tatum, even though they're underperforming a little bit. I think Tatum's better defensively. I also think Tatum is maybe hindered by not having a real playmaker on the Celtics, which I guess maybe he should be. But I think the efficiency is starting to bounce back just a little bit for him, so where I'll put him in still.
Yeah, I could see it for sure. It came down to, with the last 3 spots there, I was debating putting Jimmy Butler there because obviously he's been hurt and he's only played like 20 something games this year out of like the available 40. But, when he's healthy, he's been kind of MVP. I mean, he's been absolutely balling. So I decided to put him in there. And then it kind of came down to Tatum and Sabonis. And I just feel like the expectations that Tatum has come in with, like to just kind of be so underwhelming and the team to be so underwhelming and then to get
rewarded. And I don't know. I think where people are getting caught up with that, and the same thing with James Harden, is it's not about how good they're playing, it's about how well they're meeting their expectations. So like maybe James Harden is like Darius Garland is beating expectations more than James Harden, but that doesn't make him better than James Harden is because James Harden has higher expectations. Same thing with Sabonis, right? I think Sabonis is meeting his expectations better than Tatum, but I think Tatum had much higher expectations. So Tatum is still the better player to me.
Yeah, I'm seeing some Jarrett Allen question marks. We both have him in here, and I like that because he's just. I mean, if Gobert is an all-star now, I think you got to use the same logic for Jarrett Allen. And I mean, defensively, he's in the DPOY probably conversation. The Cavs are vastly overperforming expectations. He's been super efficient in the paint. I mean, like super, super efficient. He moves the ball pretty well. He's near the top of the league in assists for Eastern Conference centers. So I think he's been the total package at center this year. And I don't know what center you would exactly put over him there. Like obviously Embiid, but outside of that, I think he's been the second best. Jarrett Allen has been totally balling.
He's one of the most valuable players on a very good team. I don't think the Cavs are playing too well for them to. I don't want to necessarily look at it like this, but I think the Cavs are good enough definitely to have an all-star. I think Allen's done a lot to contribute to that winning. The defense has been ridiculous, and it's also Evan Mobley. It's kind of one of those teams where it's a lot of different guys, but
Yeah.
Allen's my favorite out of there, so I picked him and left Garland off.
I have them both on here. I have both Garland and Allen on here, and I think they both got. I mean, they lost Sexton, and they're still really, really good. So obviously, there's a lot of people contributing. I think we'll talk about trade deadline stuff a little bit later, and I think the Cavs are. They already made a move with Rondo, and I don't know if they're quite done. So maybe we'll talk about the Cavs a little bit later here again. But yeah, I think they've got two All Stars. They definitely, I think, have one, with one being borderline. So those are our East. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any other controversial ones at the top there. Yeah, like obviously Embiid, Durant, Trae Young are all Giannis.
No, I think that's it. I have my West All Stars picked out, but I did not have them in any particular order, so you're gonna have to bear with me there.
Okay.
But if you want to go ahead and give yours real quick.
All right. So with my backcourt, I've got Curry, Morant, Luca, and then Donovan Mitchell, which I think is pretty straightforward. And then I've got, for the front court, LeBron, Paul George, Jokic, obviously, Towns and Gobert, and then Brandon Ingram. Those are my front court. And then in the flex, I have Chris Paul and Devin Booker, my Suns duo, which don't really. Yeah, go ahead.
The only difference, I didn't mean to cut you off, but the only difference I have from that is that I have Draymond Green in. And then I have Paul George in with a star by his name because reports are that he's maybe not going to be able to play for a very long time. So you can put him in, and if he can't play for the All-Star game, you can put somebody else in, and that would probably be Brandon Ingram. And I've done the math on it, and I think the problem is that I would consider DeJounte Murray for his spot, but I think it has to be a front court player. So that would be my argument for Ingram over DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, I think Ingram.
Oh, go ahead.
I think Brandon Ingram to me is one of my favorite players, and he's in my eyes he just hit a sick game winner last night, and he's the best. I value guys who are the number one players on their team a little bit more than role players, which is why I have. I mean, Draymond's good and everything. I don't hate that pick, but I have Ingram there just because I think like if you switched, I like to lead to be the number one option and to be like the best. I would rather have Ingram. Like, and Draymond, I would rather like add as like a special sauce to like a really good team already. I don't know. Draymond's interesting like that. I know I had the prime Carmelo versus prime Draymond argument, which is like sort of the, which I thought got a weird amount of pushback because I'm team Carmelo there, but a lot of people were making the Draymond argument. I don't know. I don't hate Draymond there, but I've got Ingram just because I value him being like the guy there.
I gotta disagree. I think that Draymond Green is providing a lot of wins for a really great team right now. And I understand that it's like, yeah, in a situation where you're a number one option, but you know, you'd rather have Ingram over Draymond, but that's not what Draymond is. But he's the defensive impact. I mean, he might be the deep boy, right?
Right.
So I think his impact is not beaten by 12 players in the West right now.
It's fair. It's fair. Yeah, he is good. Yeah, yeah, he is good.
I don't know. There's not
he does a lot of things. He does a lot of things really well. So, but I'm a big Ingram fan. I've always been a big Ingram fan. I swear to God, when I watch Pelicans games, which is not super often, he's just someone who like he looks like baby Durant, really, and he just makes everything. So I've always been high on him, and I think he's underrated, and I think he's having a good enough season to be like the Pelicans' only All-Star, surrounded by bums as well. I mean, doing this surrounded by some horrible, horrible players. So I also kind of considered Valanciunas. The thought like crossed my mind. I guess Valanciunas is pretty good, but I didn't end up doing it.
I like the idea of the Pelicans having two All-Stars, but I mean, are they even in the plans right now?
No, they're not. Jonas. I didn't actually do it, but when I was looking at the centers, I was like, he's got some decent numbers. Could he? Basically, I'm looking for any reason not to give it to Gobert because I just hate Gobert, but it is he does.
Diane is letting Ingram down. Oh, he's hurt, so it's tough to help him out. I guess we can talk about trades then.
Yeah,
I think that's more interesting. And I don't know if the chat has any trades that they're dying to see. I have one.
Does it involve Miles Turner?
It does.
To the Charlotte Hornets?
It does. Someone is going to trade. I think this has got to be the offseason, right, where somebody finally trades for Miles Turner.
Yeah.
And it would just help him out so much. Sabonis. Yeah, I could see Sabonis getting traded. I kind of want to see him go to Sacramento.
Sacramento. I could maybe see him going to Portland. Was one thing that I thought of, but they need someone who's maybe a little bit better of a defensive presence. But they do need a big who's like good, I think. And right now they're just treading water pretty clearly, so some sort of shakeup would be good. So I had Sabonis to Portland as maybe a possibility, but I don't know if that's realistic.
People are really high on Simmons to Atlanta, and I'm just not. I don't think that. I mean, Simmons massively helped Atlanta get into the playoffs or the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and he wasn't on the team, so I don't see why you need to trade for him. I just think people have this idea that Simmons will he'll only be on defense. Though. His defense will be great, but he's still going to be bad on offense. He is still super limited. He's still the same guy. And you could try some different stuff, but then you'd need to Simmons and Capella on the court a lot of the time is going to be brutal spacing. I do get they need defense, but the Hawks are a really young team. Their core is really young, so I'm not making a major move that I don't feel like will work out long term. Just to try to get in the playoffs now if I'm the Hawks.
I love the reports that the 76ers want to package Simmons and Tobias Harris, thinking they could get a better player because obviously two good players is better than one. But I don't know how that's just such a funny concept to me where it's okay, and you get Tobias Harris and that's an $80 million combined package. I don't know if that's quite how it works. 76ers.
And trade Capella and put Simmons at the 5. Well, I don't know if the 76ers would want Capella. I guess it could be a 3-team trade. Maybe send Capella to the Hornets. But I people have this people have this idea that Simmons is Draymond Green because he could be Draymond Green, but he is not that player, and it's okay, well, we're gonna get Ben Simmons, and we're gonna make him play a completely different style of basketball, and I get that, but it's a big risk because up to this point we have not seen Ben Simmons be willing to change his game at all. I mean, even when the 76ers challenged him to just take 1 3 a game, he wouldn't do it. So to ask him to all of a sudden you're playing the 5, it's a completely different thing. So I don't know. I'm not as keen on it as other people, I guess.
I think let's see. I know there was a report I read that the Magic are shipping Gary Harris and Terrence Ross was one report that I saw. And I'm thinking we talked about the Cavs earlier. That was one where I was I could see them adding some scoring talent, some wing talent because, with Sexton hurt, you're relying a lot on Chetty Osman, who's actually not been that bad this year, which is funny. And I feel like they are in a spot to win some playoff series. All of a sudden, they're we could be the Hawks this year. But, we're relying on some guys who are overperforming right now. But if we added maybe someone like Gary Harris or someone someone like that, I think that they already traded for Rondo after Rubio got hurt. And I don't know if they're quite done. I think they've got this mindset where it's like maybe we're not finals contenders, but let's get a playoff series win or something and see what we can do.
I would be more of a fan of LeVert if I was going to go after somebody
Yes.
and I was the Cavs.
Yes.
I think LeVert is a better long-term option. Maybe you keep Sexton too, and then all of a sudden you're set up with Garland, Sexton, LeVert at the 3. Mobley, Allen is a starting 5. That's pretty strong.
That's pretty strong, yeah.
So if I'm the Cavs, I'm not looking to make a win now move that does not also build on my future. And I'm just not that high on Terrence Ross right now. And you'd have to give a lot of money, and you'd have to give up Kevin Love, who is playing really well. I mean, that's the only way I can think of making the money work. So LeVert is the guy I'd be targeting.
LeVert is also, and he's someone they've been rumored to like a lot. Terrence Ross I like because he's a 2K demon. A couple years ago, and we could routinely put up like 40 a game with Terrence Ross. So I've always liked Terrence Ross, but I think it's only because of that. He also dropped 50 that one time a long time ago, and we were like, "Oh my God, 2K is real. This is real 2K." Why did Terrence Ross put up 50?
But yeah, Terrence Ross is likely shooting like 30% from 3 this year.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
I'm afraid he's awful. No.
Yeah.
But,
I know he's not actually
good though. I fear.
I know he's not good, but he is good on 2K.
Not real life, unfortunately.
It was that one game. I have a soft spot in my heart for Terrence Ross and Alan Crabb. That's my other guy. I can't believe he didn't get a 10-day.
Yeah. Westbrook for something. What? There's no Westbrook trade out there that makes sense for anyone.
No, there's
nothing that I've seen. He just costs too much. I mean, and to make the money work, it's tough. And then to make the fit work in the middle of the season is just brutal. He hurts the spacing, and I think the Lakers are better. I think the Lakers can make it work a little bit more than they are now. So I would hold on to Westbrook, and there'd be other trades that I'd be looking at.
Yeah, I think the Lakers fans kind of have to get used to the roster they have right now. I think like big changes at the deadline is not something that they should just be like expecting. Even though LeBron teams tend to be very, very fluid and move around a lot, I just don't. I don't see it change. I think they're kind of stuck with what they got, and they got to make it work.
I don't think the Lakers are quite as stuck as people think. They can put together a package of like, THT, Kendrick Nunn, 2027 first, 2028 pick swap, which is not horrible, but they don't even need like the world-changing moves that people think they do. They just need to get rid of the guys who are playing just total negative minutes, which would be like DeAndre Jordan and Kent Bazemore, like those type of dudes. And add Kendrick Nunn is horrid. I'm afraid that's not even true. I think that's one of the big things about the Lakers is that Kendrick Nunn is actually really good, and he was super efficient for a good Heat team, and he just hasn't played. And I think people have forgotten about it. So I think you keep him, and him coming back could be big for them. But I'm just focused on dumping a few of those guys, playing guys like Austin Reeves more, and picking up a couple more off-ball scores to play rotational minutes.
Yeah. Isn't Talen Horton-Tucker kind of like garbage, though? I see that he's shooting.
See, like Talen Horton-Tucker's another example of a guy who like just shouldn't be playing, can't be playing minutes on a contending team right now. And if he starts shooting better, maybe, but until he does, they don't need Talen Horton-Tucker iso ball. That is not helping the team.
Yeah, we got him shooting a hair over 40%, less than 25% from 3 on over 3 shots a game. That's not good. So yeah, he could probably go. I don't know what kind of package he would like. Is he really a net positive right now? I guess he is only 21.
I did a video on this. I think it's on Stay Hot. If you want to go watch that, where I talk about this in depth. But I think all the moves are there for them without trading him, and then I would just play him as like a reserve player. I don't, and any trade that he is in he would be in it to make the money work more than he would be in it to more than he would be in it to like actually be an asset.
Do you think there's any chance some guy who's been in a lot of trade discussions over the years, but I don't hear any this year, is Bradley Beal? Do you think that there's any shot that he would get moved now that the Wizards have kind of fallen off? He's kind of he's not maybe underperforming. He's gotten a lot of points, but I mean, he's just shooting poorly. It just seems like every year, like he could use just like a change of scenery, and he's just stuck on the Wizards when he could really help out a contending team. He's someone I always have my ears up for a trade, but it just never seems to happen. It doesn't look like it's going to happen this year, but man, if he could go to like, I don't know, the Sixers for Ben, I don't know, if that would be a Ben Simmons thing, or
I don't know. I could see it if they want to blow it up. Maybe. If they want to blow it up, maybe. But I don't think they're going to this year, so I would say no. Otherwise, a 76ers does make sense. And they kind of have the pieces to build around Simmons already.
Yeah, but, I don't hate that deal, but it's not happening.
If it was like, I don't know if I would do it straight up for Simmons.
Right. The Clippers are screwed, man. If Paul George is out for a long time, I'm gonna back into my Sixers don't make the playoffs or an 8 seed take. I was mad because
Clippers.
Clippers. I was mad because I bet the over on the Nuggets versus Clippers game just because the over was like over under was like incredibly low for an NBA game. I was like, take a shot at it. That's so low. And then I checked the score at halftime, and the Clippers had 28 points at halftime, and I was like, that's not good. And then they ended up winning somehow, so fuck the Clippers for that.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you see the Nuggets making any moves? Maybe for LeVert. That'd be a guy to look at. You need some more scoring on the team now, and you could keep him on the team later. And then if you could get him without giving up any big pieces, all of a sudden you have Jamal Murray and LeVert and Michael Porter Jr. and Jokic, and that's pretty strong. LeVert as a fourth option would be insane.
It's tough I think it's tough for the higher ups at the Sixers to like, or not the Nuggets to like judge what they've got though, because of all the injuries. Like, can you make an assessment of what the team is like right now just because you just don't know what you have, and like adding something else just makes it all that much harder. So I feel like I see the Nuggets not making a move just because I don't know if they know quite what they have. Because doesn't MPJ suck? Yeah, sort of.
Well, he played
doesn't.
Like 10 games this year.
Right. Is he out for the whole year, do you think?
Michael Porter Jr., I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Well, then maybe, because you have to replace him probably to win.
Isn't LeVert injury prone? Yeah, a little, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's probably not a perfect move for the Nuggets. It might be just kind of a lost season.
Yep. Which is too bad. How old is Jokic?
He's 26.
Okay, so he's still
25, 26, 27.
His game is gonna age well. So a lost season isn't totally killer. But yeah, you would like them to contend right now with the quality of player that he is. Do you see the Grizzlies doing? I mean, the Grizzlies are absolute nuclear firestorm right now.
They're just everyone's bought in. The chemistry is great. Maybe a really minor move, but I'm just sticking with what I got if I'm them.
Yeah, they're a little bit like, I think, again, there's two ways to win, and this is what I was talking about on the pod. You can either have a LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry level talent, or you can just become the perfect basketball team. Like, those are your two options, with like an all-star and then just everyone else complementing each other really well, and everyone else completely bought into the city, completely bought into the culture. And again, this is the Suns. Like, the Suns, in my eyes, are like the perfect example of that. And the Grizzlies are kind of that this year, where they're all bought in. They like encapsulate Memphis. They love the city. They like grit and grind is like the whole Memphis thing, and they all want to do that, and they all have bought into that. And it's just it's beautiful to watch it when it happens, and it's happening to the Grizzlies right now. And yeah, so I wouldn't mess with that either. But to win a championship, you might like to maybe add like one more good piece. But I think if you're the Grizzlies, you're just happy with where you're at right now, and you're not trying to mess that up.
Yeah. That's what I'm doing. The Nets are going to trade for KCP. Mark my words. I could see it. Bol, future MVP. I like Bol. Potential's there. Probably wasn't playing for the Nuggets for a reason.
Yeah, that's probably correct. He
They had
probably
like a million injuries and they still wouldn't play him.
He probably fell to the second round in the draft for a reason. And yeah, if he wasn't tall, would anyone care? Like, you know, and if his name wasn't Bol, if his name was like Alex Johnson, would anyone care about Bol if his name was Alex Johnson?
Ben Simmons to the Lakers, that'd be hilarious. It's
that
not
would
gonna
be
happen, unfortunately.
I feel like
when are we gonna admit Bol isn't good? We're almost there. If he doesn't work out with the Pistons, then people will be on board with that. I mean, I'd like him to be good. He's fun. But I don't know.
Yes. Talk about the Hawks. Though, if we're talking trades, we got to talk about Cam Reddish and John Collins. And the Hawks seem to be at the heart of a lot of moves. We talked a little bit about Simmons and how you thought it was a little bit dubious, that trade. But do you think the Hawks will make any kind of move? Because last I checked, they were pretty badly underperforming. Yeah, they're 17-22. So
I mean, this is where the Ben Simmons stuff comes into play.
yeah.
I think they're big. They just don't have enough good defenders. Hunter coming back should be big.
Their schedule over the next couple of games is also just brutal. They go Heat, Knicks, Bucks, T-Wolves, Heat, Hornets, Kings, Celtics, Lakers, Raptors, Suns. Like they could get really deep in the negatives over these next couple of games if they don't step it up, because that's like
Isn't Hunter back already? Did he play last night? I didn't see. But I don't know. Like, I really don't know what the move is for the Hawks. You need the defense. I'm not necessarily on board with Simmons stuff. Kind of depends on what you have to give up. But I don't think that the 76ers want what the Hawks could give up.
Yeah.
So that's I
with the Sixers, it always seems like you want a playmaker with that, like someone like a playmaker. You don't need a ball dominant scorer. You don't need a really good defender. You need just like a playmaker. And the Hawks' playmaker is Trae Young, and obviously they're not going to trade Trae Young. But then in like outside of that, it's a bunch of like wings and Capella, and it just doesn't totally match up to each other. It's not like, the Pacers guy like Brogdon. That would be like, okay, perfect, if you could give up that and maybe something else. But they don't really have that guy. I don't know if that's accurate,
I agree. It's just tough with trading Simmons, because if you trade him and you don't get back a second option on a championship team, you've lost. But I just don't know if there's a trade there for it unless you add picks or Tyrese Maxey, which I might do, even though I love Tyrese Maxey.
Yes. Yeah, I like Parker Bartlett's question. Would you rather be a Trailblazers fan or just be dead? Thoughts?
I'd rather be. That's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
I'd rather be a Trailblazers fan. They'll blow it up eventually when Dame is 37.
Being a Trailblazers fan, I bet it's a little bit like being a Packers fan. Like you've got this like star who's just like an offensive, like he has maybe more, oh my God, like how did you hit that shots than just about anybody. Like he's a little bit like Rodgers, I think, in that way, where it's like the Rodgers Hail Marys are a little bit like Dame's long shots.
It's like that, except Dame's playing bad and they've never won a title with him, and the team is terrible this year.
Yeah, that's true. It would be like if Rodgers fell off last year, and they always get like I know the Packers always get to the NFC Championship game and lose, and the Trailblazers don't always get to the Western Conference Finals and lose, but they always like you've got this one guy who's like clutch as hell and hits these insane shots, but they always fall short in the playoffs. And for a long time, they just never changed it up to the degree they should have. And the Packers also were always they never signed anyone in free agency for years. Ted Thompson just wouldn't do it. So I imagine being a Trailblazers fan is kind of similar to being a Trailblazers fan. So I'm a Packers fan. It's not that bad. So I'd rather be a Trailblazers fan because at least you could see Dame do some cool stuff. But I guess not this year.
Somebody mentioned the Jazz. I think the Jazz are like dumb not to try to make a win now move and trade all their picks, honestly. Like I have no idea. But the fact that they're just sitting on like a bunch of picks that could possibly land them a player that gets them good enough to be serious contenders is a mistake, I think. I don't know who it would be exactly for, but I think that's the wrong strategy.
I agree. It's a little bit like the Warriors that we were talking about that at draft day, where it's like you've got all these young players and you've got all these picks, and you're sitting on them and you're picking them when you may have another finals run left in this older core, and if you don't play your cards right, you could end up just not winning a ring in either era. And the Jazz now the Warriors look like they could win a ring anyway this year. So maybe this is a lesson for the Jazz not to listen to us and do this, but it kind of feels the same way with the Jazz, where it's like they want to not go all in either spot, and that could just end up being like a perennial second round exit, and then in the future just not being a total dumpster fire. But you'd rather just get a ring. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I could see that. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I'm saying, honestly.
Yeah.
Holding on to these picks just doesn't do them much. I don't know if I have much else more trade wise, unless you guys in the chat have something.
Yeah, any crazy trades we haven't talked about? Halliburton is one person that they've been mentioning. The Kings, I guess, with all their guards, maybe one of them is on the move, which I could maybe see.
I'd move Fox. That'd be the guy I'd move. I'm not moving Halliburton. Yep. In my opinion, Fox. I don't know. Guard who can't shoot. I would rather move. I would rather move Fox, maybe to the Celtics or something, for a pick package, or maybe Fox. The Mavs would be cool, but I don't know what they have to offer.
Brunson would be a piece I'd be very interested in trading for. I think Brunson is really good on the Mavs and underrated. So if I could get like Brunson and some picks, I would be willing to part with like one of my guards if I was the Kings, or if I was the Hawks, or something like that. I think Brunson would be a solid piece to trade. I'd be happy to get him back plus picks.
Yeah. I'm honestly, I don't think if they're going to trade Fox, it's going to be for Brunson.
I don't think so either. I'm just saying
I'm not that high on him. I don't think his potential's that high. Well, he's a great player, but for a team that's trying to move off guards, I don't think Brunson is like so high quality that I would be like I would be looking to move a guard for guard. And I mean, if Brunson was on Fox's level or equal value for Fox, then I just think the Mavs would not be looking to move Brunson for Fox. I'd like some sort of Sabonis trade. Maybe the Celtics get involved as a third team, but I think that would be cool.
What is the NBA version of being a Browns fan? It's probably like who's horrible? The Bobcat, maybe the Hornets. The Hornets might be. Honestly,
stop. No, we're good now.
We're good now. I guess
we're good now.
You are good now.
We're good now.
Yeah.
Don't
but the Charlotte Bobcats are like the equivalent of being the Browns, though. Like just the absolute joke franchise.
Pistons. Now Pistons have multiple titles.
Yeah, like
Pistons have multiple titles. Raptors, you guys won like 2 years ago.
One second.
Should the Knicks make a move? Maybe. I'm not sure what they should do.
The Knicks is the Browns. The Knicks is the
Baker. Baker is the NFL version of Zion.
Zion's good though.
Zion's really nice. Hurt. He's just hurt.
I think it is the Knicks because the Knicks have been a joke since 1999, which is when the Browns came back. And then last year they had their really good season and got totally hyped, and now they're not that good again, and they're mid. And Randall is Baker, and
that's not really. That's not a bad comparison at all, honestly.
So I think the Knicks are the Browns because they got too hyped after one good year of success, and then their best player was a empty stadium fraud, and when the lights are bright, he collapsed, sadly.
Kings are a good choice too. They haven't made the playoffs in forever. Baker's the NFL version of Westbrook. Baker was never as good as Westbrook was, though.
Yeah. Baker is like, I don't know. There really isn't a NBA comparison. It would be like if Tatum was like way worse than he is, or like some just like really hyped. I don't know who's like the hyped up cocky young player who's just not that good and talks all the time. Maybe like Hero last year, where everyone was like, "Oh my God, white boy of the month."
And now I think the mic is on your end. Who has the best young core and why is it the Hornets? It might be the Grizzlies, but the Hornets are up there, man. If we would play any of our rookies, they just never ever play. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. Because Borrego knows he has to make the playoffs, or it's his job, and I don't blame him, but it sucks.
Hero is Baker. Burrow is like Hero. Burrow's like Hero because Hero's good again, and like if Hero like sucked, he would be Baker because he was like hyped up, and then he's in Jack Harlow video, and then he's bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Are the Bulls legit? I say yes.
I'm
very
yes.
high on the Bulls. I don't know if they're gonna like win it all, but it wouldn't totally stun me if they did. They are kind of fighting an uphill battle. I see them as like competitive with the Nets and the Bucks, but maybe it's just a half a step behind them.
Bro is like John Morant. I think
I've been told that Baker Mayfield is a lot like Luka.
That did
happen. I remember where I heard that.
Yeah, the NBA equivalent of Luka Doncic, or the NFL equivalent of Luka Doncic, is Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, Baker better than Luka?
At football, maybe. I don't even know.
Westbrook to the Knicks for some good role players? I don't know, dude. It's just... I can't get behind. I think the spacing would be brutal if they did that. It seems like a lot of the Westbrook trades are only to benefit the Lakers.
Yes, it's like Lakers fans. But I kind of thought that when they were like, "Oh my God, we're gonna get, we're gonna be able to move Kuzma for something," and I was like, "Oh yeah, Lakers fans, sure you'll be able to move Kuzma after the playoff series he just had," and then they were. But sadly, Westbrook, they were able to move him for Westbrook, and Westbrook is ass. So Westbrook sucks, man. I hate Westbrook. I don't actually hate Westbrook, but I've said this before, but it's like, dude is hitting shots off the side of the backboard. I don't want my NBA player doing that. Like, I don't care what you do. Yeah, I just don't. In clutch time, you can't. I'm scared Westbrook is going to hit like this game-winning shot, and it's going to like not even hit the backboard at all. Like, that's a legitimate fear with Westbrook. And it's like, I just don't want my NBA player to have that concern.
No, I feel you. Westbrook to the Pistons for Jeremy Grant. I mean, the Pistons, I don't know what Westbrook does for them, Like, there's players that I think the Lakers would trade Westbrook for, but I don't think there's teams that would trade for Westbrook right now.
Westbrook the Knicks makes the most sense to me of like all the teams, because it's like I could see the Knicks just wanting someone Like, because every year it's like, oh my God, the Knicks are going to bring in this superstar, and they never actually go to New York. So if a real, like, Westbrook is a superstar. So I could see them just being like, let's get an actual, like, big time guy. I don't know. I don't think it will happen, but Westbrook to the Knicks does make a little bit of sense. Also, Kyle Lowry. I do love Kyle Lowry. I was a big
Yes.
fan of the
Yes.
Heat going into this. I actually said they'd win the East because a lot of that was because of Kyle Lowry. And again, looking at I've talked about the Sun, like the Suns blueprint so many times, where it's like when you can add a playmaking guard, a vet playmaking guard, he doesn't need to be elite athletically. He doesn't need to take it to the rim, but just points out where to and can be a coach on the court and point out where to be and just keep everything on the rails. And you surround that with a bunch of young guys, or just, I mean, the Heat aren't that young, but just like good players. Like, it's such a recipe for success, in my opinion. And Lowry, I loved that move, and he's good. And the Heat are good, even with Jimmy Butler out. So yeah, I do like Lowry, and I really liked the Heat going into the season because of that move. I thought that was elite playmaking
Elite.
point guards, man.
And that's exactly why LaMelo Ball is an all-star. It really all comes together.
What NFL star had a fall from grace as Westbrook? I mean, Josh Gordon comes to mind, but he like didn't happen in nearly the same way. Someone who is always Odell, maybe, but he is kind of good again, and he also is like doing a good job in kind of a smaller role right now, where he went to LA, but he's not like hogging all the targets and just fucking it all up, which is what like Westbrook is doing. So I think like Odell comes to mind for me when you think of like Westbrook, but it's not a perfect comparison. Maybe like Nnamdi Asomugha when he went to the Eagles way back.
Oh man, I forgot that name.
Yeah, well, yeah, no Bam. Victor Oladipo, I'm pretty sure doesn't exist anymore. No one can show me proof.
Theo, what's going on in your life?
What's going on in my life? Talking life?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not taking classes this semester, so I'm just kind of hanging out. Yeah.
I'm just chilling, I guess.
I'm literally just chilling. I don't have school.
You guys need to bother him, because he will not make a full draft guide, even though he has really cool graphics to do it with, and it would be sick. And
I
you
should
could
make a
make a physical draft guide.
I could. I should. The like witty banter that I do sometimes is like hard to do. It's easy to do for like the quarterbacks, but then I'll sit down and try to do it for like a guard, and it'll be like, oh God, I don't have any clever things to say about Charles Cross. Oh my God, I don't have anything clever to say. I mean, I thought about it with Kenneth Walker last night. I was like, okay, can I think of anything funny? And I'm like, I can't. I can't think of anything funny. So if I were to do a draft guide, like I would have to think of like what tone I would take. Like what would my brand be? Because I'd like to do it like kind of tongue in cheek and have these like call someone like Mickey Mouse and like do this kind of like different kind of voice, but to think of all these like quips about like 5th round wide receivers or or something. Kenneth Walker is that guy. I fucking love Kenneth Walker, man. Kenneth Walker. I'm switching to football.
He's a baller.
Yeah, he's someone who's going to be really good. I think he's like at least Tony Pollard. Like and Tony Pollard's like really good, I think. But he's so fast, and his change of direction is so quick, and he's got good vision. He's like Chuba Hubbard if Chuba Hubbard didn't like go down whenever someone touched him.
I have Nakobe Dean. Yes, I love Nakobe Dean. But my draft hot take at the moment is that Jameson Williams' draft stock will not fall almost at all.
Yeah, I agree. ACLs. You look at Pickens and like how fast he came back, Cam Akers. I agree. Where it's like by the time it's months from now, and people are gonna be like, okay, we can get Jamison Williams back by like the preseason, and ACL injuries don't even seem to be all that like killer to careers anymore. Like I
Yeah,
don't think that
yeah.
Jamison
And it's
Williams.
like if he did drop, everyone would be like, "This is the perfect move," because they're not really worried about the ACL long term. So if you're not worried about the ACL long term, and he makes him the perfect slam dunk steal of a pick for every team drafting below like 20 or whatever, then he's probably not going to get drafted below 20. Talk about Treylon Burks, wide receiver 1.
I
It's a weird
might
way to
agree.
spell Garrett Wilson, but
I
I
do
haven't
like
watched a
Garrett
ton of
Wilson a lot.
Burks.
I haven't watched all the wide receivers. I'm working on running backs. I'm gonna watch Brees Hall right after this. Bryce Hall? How do you pronounce his name? I don't even know. It's weird spelled. I thought it was Bryce Hall, but it's spelled weird. It's a Brees. Anyway, I'm gonna watch some running backs and then I'm gonna go into wide receivers. But Burks, as far as I can tell, is just a monster. I know Bladen's probably typing because he just watched Burks. His hands is like a million. Like his hands are super big. He reminds me of DK Metcalf. Bladen's saying he can't run routes, and that's something I've heard from Nate Tice, who I talk to from the Athletic all the time, and not all the time, but I talked a little bit about Burks with him, and I think he thinks Burks like specifically needs to be told what to do. Um, is his things like the routes need to be tagged, like the play will be called, and then I guess he thinks Burks needs to be like told exactly what his route is instead of just like knowing. I can't remember exactly what his logic was, but that he's so I can say like I haven't watched Burks, but that's like the one thing where I've and now Bladen is saying like yeah he's route running is mid as well. So um, yes, I I think that he's a little DK Metcalfy because DK is also not probably the like greatest settling in zones and like he's a decent route runner, but he's not like high level. He reminds me of DK though, but you would take DK pretty high in a redraft. So
I think somebody asked about the Panthers and like what they should do at 6. I hope they take an offensive lineman. If they take but with the Panthers, just turn off your brain about them from a year for a year. Forget they exist. Um,
let them
they're just
flail.
they're gonna be awful next year. There is no world where I've looked at it. It's the first off the Panthers defense. Here's a secret about the Panthers. It's not that good. It's not that good. The Panthers defense is good. It's not that good. And they need to bring a ton of guys back, and they have no money. They have no quarterback. They have no offensive lineman. They're replacing like all their position coaches. They need a new offensive coordinator. They have one pick in the top 100. It's too much. It's too much.
It's a lot to overcome. Ojabo, I was listening to my thing this year is also not only am I going to scout the players' film, but also listen to a few interviews from them. Like just trying to get not even that it would take much. I don't know if I would like up their grade or down their grade. But I remember last year I did this a couple times, and I did this with Javon Holland, where I listened to an interview with him, and he just like sounded like really smart. Like he just like came across like he had so much charisma on camera. So I was like, and that was part of the reason why I liked him so much is like he just seems like a guy who's gonna figure it out. Like just and I was watching this thing on Kenneth Walker, and I didn't have that much to think about his personality, but he his coaches were talking about the 10 play test, where it's like if you can't tell someone's good in 10 plays, like he's probably not the guy for you. Like they should just like jump off the film. And they were talking about how Kenneth Walker at Wake Forest did that for them. Ojabo for Michigan is one of those guys who did that for me because I was watching Aiden Hutchinson, who I think is really good. But then I was watching Ojabo on the other side, and he hit this like wicked spin move for a sack. I'm like, I don't even know if Hutchinson's hitting that spin move, and I don't know if Thibodeau's hitting a spin move like that's just a move I don't really see from either of those guys, and he just hit it, and I wasn't even paying it, and it was like instantly. So he passes my like I haven't like really watched him, but he passes the 10 snap test where it's like holy cow, he just is like whoa, what's going on over there with Ojabo 55. So I like Ojabo, but I don't know.
I've probably got to go. I'm pretty gassed from the podcast earlier today.
Okay,
So I don't know
I'm
if
on
you
a
want to wrap it up
podcast.
here.
Yeah, I'll wrap it up too. I'm gonna look at some other stuff. I'm gonna go for a walk because I need to go for a walk every day. I'm on a podcast later. You know who I'm on with, Matt?
Who?
Sir Yacht's podcast.
You're on Sir Yacht's podcast?
Yes, later.
That's awesome.
Yes,
That's
I'm looking forward to it.
That's a big player on Twitter.
He is a big player on Twitter. I'm on his podcast as a guest. I don't know what we're gonna talk. I don't know how he gets the money. He's always like going to games dressed as thing. It's like where are you getting all this money to go to these Jaguars? I guess like travel it all around. So I'm gonna
he does a lot of stuff, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yes,
go
I'm on
touch
his
grass.
podcast. I'm gonna go touch grass. I'm gonna go touch grass right now. All right. Well,